don't know about you, but I feel like the WWE championships, from Cody's undisputed title to the women's United States title, the tag titles, and all of it on main roster, really feels like it's kind of all over the place, and it might even need a little bit of work. So today, we are going to look at all of the main roster WWE championships and the current state of them and what's kind of good and bad right now. My name is Matt. Welcome to Assemble. Let's talk about the women's tag team titles and where they're at. We got Naomi and Bianca holding those belts, and right now, they are kind of in the middle, or I guess ramping up with the whodunit storyline of Jade Cargill. They're blaming Liv and Raquel for taking out Jade in the parking lot. I really don't think that's it. I honestly think it's going to boil down to it being Bianca and Naomi who did it. Maybe Bianca isn't involved and she's gonna win the chamber, fight Rhea, and Naomi fights Jade if they could do that. But I think that they are the ones that were involved in all of this. So I like that story. I'm glad that they're finally doing something with it, because they really just did nothing with Jade when she was injured. They just didn't talk about it. And then now, as we're getting into Chamber and WrestleMania season, obviously now it's becoming a big deal. I think that this is not about like, hey, do they put on good matches or not? Yeah, like everybody just puts on good matches for the most part. But the stories, the women's tag titles, it's hit and miss a lot of the time. I like Bianca and Naomi holding these belts, but I wish that, I guess, there was more foils for them in the women's tag division. I really like Liv and Raquel, their tag team match they had on Raw against Damage Control. That I thought went over very well, and I could see Liv and Raquel, Damage Control, Bianca, Naomi. Maybe you could figure out a couple. You got Kaden Carter, Katana Chance kicking around somewhere, but you could heat up a couple of more women's tags. Pure Fusion Collective is maybe broken, don't know. So I think it's kind of, I'm not grading this on like an ABC T double XYZ suck it level. I just think it's kind of okay. And that's a large part of the story with many of these championships right now. I don't think it's the performers, I think it's just creative. DIY, they hold the WWE tag team titles over on SmackDown. Now tag teams, like we're just gonna go into tag team mode here. You got War Raiders on Raw with the World Tag Team titles. They're doing, I feel like, a little bit more with DIY. You got Motor City Machine Guns over there. The Street Profits are more heelish. I didn't love the 2 out of 3 falls match at the Rumble. I thought that it was too short, but I like DIY as heels. I think it's missing some kind of spark, but I'm glad that they are, at least on SmackDown. They seem to be putting more emphasis, because they got 3 hours to fill. They are putting more emphasis on the tag team titles, giving everybody more time to shine, but they're missing, I think, that sort of more personal story, other than just people wanting to become tag team champions. Now, Street Profits attacked everybody at the Royal Rumble, so they got their motivation. I think eventually they will get those tag team titles off of either DIY or Motor City Machine Guns will get them back. They'll play a little hot potato going to Mania. For WrestleMania though, for those titles, they maybe both tag teams. I don't even know if those tag titles will even get on the card, but if they do, probably need to be in some big multi-man match. We had the ladder match last year. That was a lot of fun. I like it if they would do maybe a TLC match and do like a triple threat TLC for those SmackDown WWE tag titles. So we mentioned the War Raiders. They are your Raw, the World Tag Team Champions. The tag team titles on Raw, I find, are in such a meh space. I don't know about you. They were on Judgment Day, I think, for way too long, and I think that really hurt them. Before Judgment Day, was it on Miz and R-Truth? And then they dropped them to Judgment Day, maybe, probably. But I'm sitting here pondering, who are the other tag teams? Like, you have Judgment Day, but they're kind of in shambles, and it sounds like they're gonna break up at some point unless they recruit more people. The War Raiders are the tag team champions. Ooh, yeah, LWO. Okay, you got them, but they don't ever do anything. New Day, and I think that's kind of the direction you need to go into maybe next. New Day is in like a forever feud with Rey Mysterio, and I don't know how that's going to culminate, but I think War Raiders, since coming back and getting a little bit of a character change, or I should say a big character change, because they're no longer Viking Raiders, so that's a plus, and they don't have all the get up anymore. They're just street toughs. They're good, but I feel like they don't have interesting stories to work with. I think it's always just Judgment Day doing Judgment Day things, and they're in shambles. I do feel like you need to probably pull the trigger at Mania and having the New Day get those tag team titles. War Raiders drops it to them, and then that way you can have New Day, a long-term, credible heel now tag team with huge history that could take on maybe like a Rey Mysterio and Penta, for example, or just the rest of the LWO, but giving them new challengers and new faces to kind of roll up the ranks. But I feel like between Raw and SmackDown, what do you think? Between those two tag divisions on the men's side, I feel like Raw is always in trouble. Like it's kind of my least favorite thing and has the least consequences. I at least feel when I compare it to SmackDown, and SmackDown's show general for 3 hours, I feel like has some gaps. It's not always the most interesting thing, but at least they do try to focus more, I feel, on the tag team side. Maybe it's just tag team wrestling is just hard to book nowadays. I'm not doing the speed champions. So next, Chelsea Green, your United States champion. I love Chelsea. I think she does great work, but it's kind of like the similar thing with a lot of them where I'm like, are you just guys in just kind of forever feuds of just mixing it up with the same people, rotating them every single week? Chelsea's had feuds with Michin. I feel like that's it. Now, Chelsea does as much great work as she possibly can. She's hilarious. She's a good champion. I'm just like, what are we going to do with Chelsea come WrestleMania? Will they build to Piper Niven turning and they do that match? I don't feel like they're even sniffing that in that direction. I know she's confirmed for NXT, but I really would have loved Jordynne Grace to get right to main roster, fight Chelsea, win the United States Championship, and make Jordynne Grace a long-term American Gladiator style champion, and Chelsea Green could chase her and be that silly but kind of just annoying heel to foil with Jordynne Grace, something fun like that. I'm looking at the SmackDown women's roster. You do have Alexa Bliss, so she could maybe go after Chelsea Green if she doesn't end up winning the chamber, or she's going to do something with the Wyatts. B-Fab is in there. Jade, when she comes back and things settle down, all that, I think Jade would be perfect to get the United States title off of Chelsea, have her come back and kind of win in a dominant fashion. And you already done the feuds with Michin, and you have Zelina Vega. So you could roll up Zelina Vega as she's presented as a face over on SmackDown and do Zelina versus Chelsea. It'd be kind of good too, because we've seen, the times we get Zelina Vega on TV, she's a good wrestler, but I think they need to flesh her out a little bit more if she would even get into the United States title picture. Otherwise, I'm like, you don't really have anybody else. I feel like a lot of this is turning into being a Debbie Downer. I don't want that. I want to be excited and happy and positive about these titles, but I am looking at them like the next one, Lyra Valkyria with the Intercontinental Championship. Nothing's happening. She's had this belt for a month to a month and a half with any title defenses. I know that as I'm recording this, she'll have a match against Dakota Kai. That's a rematch. That's great. Maybe they're going to flip the belt there, but if they do and they put it on Dakota, Lyra hasn't even established herself as a champion. To me, Lyra should be that the workhorse champion on Raw, having 10-minute matches every single week. Different opponents, have a match against Ivy Nile, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, like go through the division, and not to bury them or anything, but have these like really gritty, long matches if you can to establish her and establish everybody else wanting the Intercontinental title. I think one of the problems they had with Lyra, and more so the IC title right away, was that they got it out there, they did the tournament, that's great. You got Lyra, a fresh, newer face, somebody who has now some big credibility by getting that championship. More women can go after a title that's not the Rhea title, but then you put Lyra, the IC champion, in a qualifying match against Bayley to go after the main title. That's where I feel like you had a little bit of a problem. Why would Lyra even be in that tournament? I know they do that with a lot of champions for different matches and different things, but it feels like you're just filling spots. You couldn't put anybody else in there to qualify to go up against Bayley, and yet Bayley beat her. So Bayley's beating the Intercontinental Champion. So it's almost like Bayley should just turn around and be like, all right, well, I beat you. Like, I should just get that belt now. I'm not saying that Lyra was the bad choice for Intercontinental Champion, the inaugural one. I think it's a good decision. I just think that the creative isn't really there. And I think you could be doing a lot more, kind of like with the US title, but on Raw, the women's division, you have other contenders. Like you are using Dakota Kai, which is great. I think you could be pushing Ivy Nile. Throw Maxine Dupree in there and mix her up in there. Have multi-women's matches. Try to do more with that. Maybe once Roxanne Perez, once the dust settles with the Chamber and her story with Bayley, maybe Roxanne Perez will go after the IC title. That would be a really good spot for her. But I think you need to have Lyra on TV having and defending that title more often. She doesn't have a feud. It's a lot of this. And the man who we barely see do anything is the United States champion on the men's side, Shinsuke Nakamura. What the hell is going on with that? Like, honestly, he's on SmackDown last week where he started doing a promo, then you got LA Knight, you got Drew McIntyre, and they're chirping each other, and then Shinsuke just rolls out of the ring. He's just watching and being all menacing. Now here's the thing, the positives. Matt really I like Shinsuke. I like this new version of Shinsuke that they did even last year when he came back, and they've evolved it even more into what we have today. really like it. I like that he got the title off LA Knight. I'm a big LA Knight fan though, and I think that it was a smart move because it was surprising that you had Shinsuke dominate LA Knight, get that title. And yes, LA Knight is trying to get it back, but it feels very start and stop. And it doesn't feel like Shinsuke is doing much. I think Shinsuke should be mixing it up with other people that want to go after the United States Championship, have TV matches, title defenses of Carmelo Hayes versus Shinsuke. You want to build, if you want to build Shinsuke as like the dark, menacing, brooding guy who's dangerous, who spits the venom at everybody, then you got to get him on TV having matches. You know who would be probably best suited to go after Shinsuke pretty soon would be Damian Priest. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Damian Priest. The rumors have been Drew versus Priest at Mania, but then according to the internet, that is not something that they want to do anymore because fans are not very excited about it. I'm not. I don't see the point of that match right now. Doesn't feel like it's the right spot for either guy. You could do something at Mania where it's like a multi-man match for the US title. I think after Chamber, again, it's all after Chamber. All the dominoes fall after the Elimination Chamber. Once that happens, I think then you could turn around and say, okay, Priest, assuming you don't win the Chamber, then you could probably start focusing on the US title against Shinsuke, mixing it up with guys like Jimmy Uso, with LA Knight, Andrade, and get there and maybe capture the United States title. So I don't know. I think the US title, it needs some work. It's kind of like a lot of this, unfortunately. Then on Raw, we got Braun Breaker, Intercontinental Champion. They've done more with Braun Breaker, I will say. I like his run as IC champion. I don't really want to see him drop it. I can see him dropping it to Sheamus just to get that whole celebration, that moment of Sheamus finally capturing the Intercontinental Championship. However, the combination of Ludwig Kaiser, Braun, and Sheamus, we've seen it done a lot. Now, there is good news. We have the influx of AJ Styles, and AJ and Braun Breaker eyeing each other up. AJ seemingly going to go after that Intercontinental title. I really like that. I think that's fresh, new. That's a good matchup. You have Styles, who's a little bit quicker, and you have the big force craziness of Braun Breaker, who's just spearing the life out of everybody. It could be a multi-month series of matches between AJ and Braun going after each other, leading to Mania if it is maybe, like, again, I'm saying multi-man match because there's so much talent on the card. But you could do a straight up one-on-one of Braun Breaker versus AJ Styles at Mania. If it's just a TV program, I'm like, you should do that at Mania and get AJ on the card for a big moment like that. AJ with the Intercontinental Championship would be cool. Elevate that title even more. Braun Breaker, he can kind of drop it and gain it again, and it's good for Braun. Maybe even eventually drop it and start focusing on the world title. Tiffy and Tiffy time. Okay. Tiffany Stratton is going to take on Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, a match that a lot of people are looking forward to, a match that some people are not looking forward to because they don't like Charlotte Flair getting the championship and winning the Rumble and all of that stuff. I think it's an important match. I think that the Women's Championship has been in good shape. I think it's been very strong because over the last of 2024 till now, you've had a couple of different champions. You've had Bayley and you've had Nia Jax and you've had Tiffany Stratton and you might have Charlotte or Tiffany holds onto the belt. You've been able to mix in a lot of other people in there into the division, into the title scene. Having Naomi mixing it up almost every week with Tiffany and with Bayley and Nia Jax, Candice LeRae coming in and helping out Nia Jax. There's been a lot of players involved, and I've really liked that because it's kept that whole title scene pretty alive and vibrant. Now, I like that Tiffany cashed in. I like they played off the relationship with Nia Jax and all that stuff for a while. And I think that the match between Charlotte and Tiffany at Mania will be really good in ring. I think it will be very, very good. It's the story they tell along the way. Can I get invested in it? And what's the path, the direction they're going to take? Clearly, Charlotte is going to be the heel in this thing, and they're going to make Tiffany a very bona fide solidified babyface. I think that she's still a little bit of that tweener, but if they get this tag team match at Chamber with Trish Stratus, I think that solidifies Tiffany Stratton in the eyes of the larger fan base. Hey, this champion, she's a face. She's the good guy. We're cheering for her. And then you have Charlotte Flair intersect, and then I think it'll be very important come Mania. Do they put the belt on Charlotte and she has a vicious heel run? Could be good. She's had the title a ton, so I don't know how excited fans would be for that. But if you have Tiffany beat Charlotte, that's a huge moment. And that's a huge feather in her cap, and I think elevates Tiffany that much higher as champion. Then you introduce a bunch of new people, maybe a draft, and try to mix it up. Because after Charlotte, I don't know what you do. I don't know who steps up and who's going to take on Tiffany Stratton. That's a big baddie that you really feel like, oh my gosh, she got through Charlotte, but now she's screwed. Would it be Becky Lynch or just somebody else? Maybe call-ups from NXT. I don't know. That's where I get pause of like, ooh, could it end up being Charlotte winning the title? And then they put on a big performance. They shake hands at the end, but Tiffany is left having to chase and work her way back up as like a sympathetic babyface. But overall, I think the women's title on SmackDown has been pretty good. Like, it's been one of the stronger ones, I feel, across men's and women's. And then you have the World Heavyweight Champion on the women's side, Rhea Ripley. Now, we've had this long story of 2024 of Rhea having title, dropping title, Liv getting title, Becky got the title, Liv got the title, and then we had Liv Morgan, Judgment Day, Rhea Ripley for pretty much a year. Here's been kind of my qualm, if you will, with this world title in the whole scene, and even where we are right now when it comes to Elimination Chamber. Along the road of 2024, the whole story was Liv versus Rhea the whole time, with that world title mixed in there. Now, yes, there were injuries, and that probably prolonged this thing beyond where WWE wanted it to be. But because of that, or however they did it and they structured it, I felt like this feud went on too long. Also, in the meantime, while this feud was still happening, you didn't build anybody else up to the world title scene to be a foil for Liv Morgan. And then for Rhea getting the title, who has she fought? Anybody? She's going to have a match against Io. That's cool. I like that match. I think that they could even turn that into a triple threat at WrestleMania. Chamber winner, Io, Rhea, book it, make it fun. They could totally fix it up and make it better. So I am excited for Chamber for what the results are, but I have felt that 2024, it kind of hurt the whole title. And then your world champion, Gunther, going after Jey Uso. They're gonna have it out at WrestleMania, Yeet Mania. What have you thought about Gunther's title reign? Comment below, and also, if you can, hit subscribe. Why? Well, because it's a nice thing to do if you like the videos. Also trying to get to 50,000 subs by WrestleMania as our big goal. So it would mean a lot if you guys did that, if you enjoy the content. Gunther's title, I haven't liked it. It's getting better now with Jey. I think now you're seeing Gunther being dominant again, and he's showing that he's nasty and just scary. And that's what I want from Gunther. He had the whole crisis of confidence thing for a while with Priest and all this stuff, and it was kind of okay. It didn't make me want to see Gunther with the world title. And I think that also ultimately, I think the long title reigns, and I mean like nearing a year, are kind of unnecessary. I want to see the world title hot potato it a little bit more. I'm not saying every 3 weeks someone else is a champion, but mixing it up. And we're probably going to see Jey win the title match and beat Gunther at WrestleMania, and that's fantastic. I think one of the big points of where this went wrong, at least in my eyes, Gunther lost at Saudi Arabia, and he lost to Cody for the big mega title. Remember that? I think that actually hurt Gunther. I think Gunther needed that win, because after that, it was kind of down from there. Like, it wasn't very exciting or enthralling. He's got different challengers, and he's fighting Jey Uso a ton, and now we're gonna get the blow off at Mania. So once Jey gets the belt, it's going to be refreshing, something different, and different heels can go after Jey. And I think that's very interesting. And even if there was a draft, you can mix it up a lot more and have totally different contenders coming after that. Imagine you get like Kevin Owens. He finishes up everything he's doing at WrestleMania, Sammy, maybe Randy. What if Kevin Owens comes over to Raw, starts fighting Jey Uso for the world title? Could be a lot of fun. And then you got Cody effing Rhodes. Cody is the undisputed champion, as we know. He's going into WrestleMania. He's going to fight maybe John Cena, maybe CM Punk, maybe a bunch of people. Maybe The Rock is going to take over all of Mania. Who the hell knows? I am, I guess, torn on Cody's reign. The undisputed title situation for the last year. Cody won it at 40, had a great series of matches against AJ Styles. He's fought Logan Paul. He's fought Kevin Owens. He's fought the Bloodline. Haven't loved it, to be honest. I think it's, for me, as just a fan, like, my taste is more of, I don't want the big, long, year-long title reign. And we're getting that. Cody from Mania to Mania will be champion. It's not that I'm like against Cody and anything like that. I think that like Kevin Owens' storyline that he did really started to heat up, and I love the ladder match. Ton of fun. Really good story, and it showed, I think, more range with Cody's character. And I love the introduction of the Winged Eagle title. There was some really good stuff in there. But I think we came off the heels of Roman Reigns with multi-year title reign, and some moments during Roman's reign as champion where there was some doubt, and then you had the giant crescendo at WrestleMania 40. Hard to top that. But the Undisputed Championship hasn't been the most exciting for me for 2024 into 2025 right now, because it's felt predictable. It's felt like no one's going to take down Cody. No one realistically has a shot to end this thing with Cody Rhodes, to be a giant foil. I think it's just been a lot of good matches, more bloodline, and it's not the most must-see thing every single week or every month. I like feeling like in booking a babyface, it must be very difficult because you have a huge popular babyface as champion. You need giant monster nasty heels for him to battle and defeat and make him look strong and not look like, oh, he's just gonna keep winning and who cares about this. Though I feel it's probably very, very hard. But I think for a couple of these belts, anyways, for 2024 through to 2025 today, I feel like one of the big hangups for me is the long title reigns. And for the world title, the undisputed title, the women's titles, where they're on the champions for a very long time, and then they're waiting for like the giant payoff, and there are pluses to doing that because whoever takes it off them, it's a huge deal. But I feel like those long title reigns today, after we've had the bloodline, it's kind of wearing thin. But what do you think? What's the current state of these titles for you? Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. See ya.